It is indeed the fourth day of March 2024. Good afternoon and welcome to KBC Lunchtime News. My name is Ben Troy Njoe. Lensa Odingo is my colleague handling the sign language interpretation at this hour. Of course, you can join us on this conversation via our social media platforms as we are live. Straight to the news. We begin our live coverage from the Nairobi National Park, where my colleague Alvin Kaunda has been keeping tabs with the celebrations of the World Wildlife Day. So Alvin Kaunda, if you can hear me, kindly give us a feel of how the celebrations are panning out.
Well, thank you very much, Bento. I'm coming to you live from the KWS headquarters here at the Nairobi National Park, where they're observing World Wildlife Day 2024. World Wildlife Day is usually celebrated on the 3rd of March of each year, but today it has been celebrated on this day, on the 4th of March, on a Monday, because the actual day, the 3rd of March, fell on a weekend. That was yesterday on Sunday. And Kenya Wildlife Service decided to take this opportunity and to milk, or maybe use the opportunity to talk about this year's theme, where is using digital technology and innovations in wildlife conservation, and showing us how digital technology is being used in wildlife conservation and also human-wildlife conflicts, in tackling human-wildlife conflicts. Maybe without saying much, I have a senior warden for Nairobi National Park, Mr. Muraya Githinji. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Muraya Githinji.
Thank you very much.
Maybe you could tell us about this day in general.
Okay, so today we are marking World Wildlife Day, but as we know, it's marked on the 3rd of March every year. But this 3rd of March having fallen on a Sunday, it was felt universally that we celebrate the day today. And the day is all about wildlife. And going by the theme of this year, we are talking about connecting people and planet. And we are looking at leveraging on digital technology in wildlife conservation. Because when you look at the conservation landscape, it has been felt that technology has not been fully embraced, to protect our wildlife. It has not been fully embraced to pass the conservation message to the people. Considering that in most of the African countries, technology has not permeated all the way to the village level in a way that we will wish it to be. And it's also at that village level that we are seeing much of our wildlife. Because as you know, in Kenya, we have a big percentage of wildlife outside the protected areas. They are there, in the villages. They are there in counties which are a bit remote from where you have advanced technology. So we are asking ourselves, how do we leverage on technology in such a way that even that person at the village level can be able to communicate with Kenya Wildlife Service, and we can also be able to communicate with that person in terms of conservation of our wildlife. When you look at the use of technology, we ask ourselves, for example, as Kenya Wildlife Service, how do I know that my birds in there are doing well? How do I establish that the fishes under the sea, several hundreds of meters below sea, are doing well? How do I establish that wildlife within remote areas are doing well? That's why we're embracing technology. We are looking at the use of collars. We are looking at the use of microchips. We are also looking at the issue of tracking devices. And this not only affects the wildlife itself, but it is also used to, ensure that issues of illegal trade in wildlife is also dealt with. And how do we do that? One, advanced DNA analysis, such that if somebody is found with contraband, we can be able to quickly establish it's for a wild animal and so on. In terms of human-wildlife conflict, how do we embrace technology? Well, we have always had the use of collars with GPS, collars that are able to transmit. But how do we go beyond that? Because one, collars are quite bulky, they are very visible. Sometimes, an animal can get caught in the bushes with a collar. So what kind of technology can we embrace that is not too intrusive on the animal? It's not limiting on the animal's movement, but at the same time, it will be able to relay information to us. Then further to that, we also look at, in terms of human-wildlife conflict, what kind of technology can we use at the village level to ensure that that farmer, that pastoralist is well protected. We've had the issue of lion lights. It's been around for a number of years, but how do we enhance that? What other technology can we come up with? For example, motion sensors. Can we have motion sensors that have been configured to detect intrusion by, species of wildlife? Can we have motion sensors that can detect when a boma or a manyatta is being invaded? So there's a lot to be done, and that's why we are encouraging the youth, because the youth are actually the gatekeepers of conservation. And we always say the future is today. We cannot talk of handing over conservation to future generations. The future is today. And when you look at the kind of innovations that the youth come up with, when you look at the money platforms in the country, you actually appreciate and realize that the Kenyan youth has the ability to come up with cutting-edge technology. It's only that they've not been fully engaged to come up with technologies that can actually assist us in human-wildlife conflict. But I do believe with the kind of technologies that they come up with, we can actually embrace them, have them on board where they go through the challenges that we experience, and I'm sure that they'll be able to come up with technologies that can help us address issues of conservation.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, there you have it from Senior Warden Mr. Muraya Githinji, calling on especially the youth to engage in conservation. We'll keep on updating you as updates come in. We're still ongoing with the event where institutions and organizations have been engaged in this day, or maybe to educate them and inform them on wildlife conservation and also human-wildlife conflicts, how to tackle those. Not much from our end. That's all we have for you, and we will come back to you in studio, Bentroy.
Thank you, Alvin Kaunda there, telling us about the World Wildlife Conservation matters there. And it's a World Wildlife Day, which they have cleared why it is being celebrated today, and it falls on a Sunday. And among what they talked about, the future of conservation, they talk about the future is now and not tomorrow, and leveraging on technology and exploring digital innovations to help in conservation, not forgetting the challenges being faced by both animals and humans, and especially when it comes to matters climate change. A bit of that in our subsequent bulletin, but moving on, counties will be able to tap into an extra 46 billion shillings in the 2023-2024 financial year after President William Ruto assented to the county government's additional allocations bill on Monday at State House, Nairobi. Of the 46 billion shillings made available by the presidential assent, 450 million will go towards the completion of 5 county headquarters construction in Lamu, Isiolo, Nyandarua, Tharaka Nithi and Tana River, whose governments could not raise enough revenues to complete the projects.
Taking their legislative duty in a manner that has given us in the executive, both at the national and at the county level, the opportunity now to expend these 46 billion Kenya shillings that will go into various interventions in government. First, let me also congratulate the Council of Governors for working with us and the National Assembly and the Senate to make it possible for us to agree on moving these bills forward. The decision by the Council of Governors to withdraw court matters that had become a stumbling block on this issue is a very welcome development, and it goes to the spirit of both levels of government working together and both levels of government working also with the legislature.
In other news, male students at Meru National Polytechnic have benefited from a mentorship conference to empower them against being ensnared to drug and substance abuse. Speaking during the occasion, the Dean of Students, John Cura, said the Empowerment Forum has been necessitated by a lot of focus on the girl child leaving the boy child behind. He called for equal empowerment of both genders.
Effects of this rejection, it has led to things like 1, low self-esteem, number 2, indulgence to drug and substance and abuse.
Time that we, Meru National Polytechnic, speak about our boys and the boy child and say that let us work together to be able to ensure that the boy child is empowered.
During moral uprightness in our society and very many importance in our society, we therefore welcome as many events as possible. As we stand for the student leaders, we say that this event, we are going to get as many as possible so that we are going to create more awareness to the boy child. Okay.
The Ministry of Interior says challenges still abound in controlling illegal imports at Kenya's border points with neighboring countries. Speaking during the launch and rollout of the revised Kenya Coordinated Border Management Program, Interior Principal Secretary Raymond Omolo noted that contrabands still find their way into the country, hence the need to implement more stringent measures. The revised program aims at streamlining policies and procedures across government agencies to allow for a more coordinated approach to tackling organized crime and other threats to peace and security.
Security stakeholders and border officials convened for the launch and rollout of a revised coordinated border management program. Interior Principal Secretary Raymond Omolo said the program enhances efforts to identify threats like smuggling and terrorism.
The updated program encompasses critical dimensions of border management, including governance structures for cooperation and emerging trends and technologies. It delves into the intricacies of a border management system that embraces both domestic coordination within and between agencies in the country, as well as international coordination.
Omolo noted that border operations have been modernized to ensure legitimate goods are cleared and contrabands detected. He, however, raised concern over what he termed as uncontrolled entry of ethanol into the country through the Kenya-Tanzania border at Namanga.
For ethanol, why it is also an important conversation. Last week and of course in the last several months, we've been having conversations around illicit alcohol and of course drugs and substance abuse. Now, part of those who are involved in the second generation of alcohol or production, ethanol is an important ingredient. So we are not saying that there's anything wrong with ethanol coming in, but then it has to be done within the confines of what the regulations expect. So we're just calling on our officers to be much more alert.
At the same time, the Kenya-Uganda border is also said to be an entry point for explosive devices meant for the mining sector, but which unfortunately are sometimes misused. The launch also coincides with the training of the 9th cohort of border officials to equip them with tools that will improve their knowledge in tackling emerging challenges at border points. Kamche Menza for Lunchtime News.
Moving on, an age-old adage recognizes that necessity is the mother of invention. This rings true for Zakaria Wanyaga, a middle-aged man from Getimbene area in the outskirts of Meru town. His is a display of a unique talent born out of the need for an efficient and effective means of transport. Zakaria says the idea was mooted after realized riding a bicycle requires extra energy, while the cost of maintaining a motorcycle was untenable, owing to the rising fuel prices, birthing the design of a motorized bicycle. Our reporter Opicho Chemutai with the details on Zakaria's new invention that he hopes could open a new chapter in his life with the right support. Take a look.
At Gitimbene area in Meru County, here we find Zachary Wanyaga at his workshop. It is yet another day. He's busy at his workshop working on the final touches on his new invention. From the face value, it looks like an ordinary bicycle, but a closer look reveals it is more than just a bicycle. So what makes it different from the billions of bicycles across the globe?
Nimeweza kuiweka first of all battery, iko na horn, iko na indicators, na pia iko na tire headlight. Na pia juu ya hiyo pia niliongeza ujuzi tena, nikatafuta engine, nikamodify. So sasa hii natumia engine na ambayo nimetengeneza tank.
He shared details on how he designed an engine for the bicycle and the science behind how it works.
So ukisikia unaweza cycle ni sawa, kwa mlima hakuna mlima unaweza shuka, ukisikia umechoka tu unawakisha tu na iko sawa.
He adds that the bicycle is a hybrid, so to speak, as he can easily switch back to cycling manually should he run out of fuel. According to Zachary, the fuel consumption is low compared to that used by a motorcycle, hence making it cost-effective. So what drove him to think out of the box?
Kwa vijana ama kwa watu wenye wanajitambua mtu talenti yake ni gani au unaielewa, you just focus on it. Pole pole tu finally uta make it tu. Kwa hata mimi karibu ni give up, but nikajitia tu moyo finally na nika make it.
He's yet to test his invention on a large scale, but is optimistic with the right financial and technical support he can comprehensively test and complete his invention, which could change history, ease cost for youth in the boda industry, while at the same time be eco-friendly.
Kwa saa hii kupata engine ndio bara, kuipata ni shida, so nikiweza jua mahali inaweza kuwa ati napata engine ziko au mahali tu naitisha zinakuja, so unaweza tengeneza baiskeli mingi kama hizi.
As we leave his workshop, it is not lost on us that indeed necessity is the mother of invention.
Quite commendable. And on that note, we come to a first break. But after this short break, we'll be having more local news, not forgetting business and also sports. Keep it Channel 1.
Then your IQ is not functioning.
Sitagi sina na sitagi. Open your eyes. Buju buju.
Kizungu yake ni ya kuongea kwa mdomo. Hana haifiki kwa mfuko yake.
Na silisikiage kwambia atakupeleka Ndubai.
Labda nipeleke hapa Isili.
You look very smart.
Hapana, hii imesonewa hapo Katonzweni hapo tu sokoni.
Hii ni yako.
Umenipatia tu.
Hiyo ufanya nayo ile kitu wewe unataka.
It is rumbling you.
Naonanga wazungu wakiangalia wasema, oh my goodness, look at that green. This is a story. Wow, this is amazing fish story. Mimi hakuna kitu naona hapa. Kwa nini?
Kwa sababu tunataka tusomeshwe hapa vizuri, kwa sababu masomo ndio msingi wa maisha.
10 commandment ukifuata hizo. Aya na Rastafari. Yes,
Mimi nilikuwa nimekaa kwa barabara nikaona ngali inakuja bu 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 bu. Nikaangalia ngali ya town nikaona nyingine inakuja twa nikasema iko njambo, nika maintain. Unaona?
Every Monday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Catch the Chipukizi Show live on KBC Channel 1.
这个就是你说的实际的东西吗？
是的，我也有理论，但不是玄学，都是经过大量的观测总结出来。那是孔子。
孔子，果然在这个里面，时空还有人民都是错乱的，不过就是个代表而已。
孔子就那么站着，动成了冰柱，一直站到了现在。
那就什么都没有了，在太阳熄灭之后。
时间的尽头。
Welcome back and many thanks for keeping it KBC. And from the break, we now cross over to Kajiado County, where the Rural Women Network currently presenting a draft African leafy vegetable 2025 to 2050 strategy to the county government of Kajiado. And I can see my colleague Alan Aoko is currently on standby to give us something on that bit. Good afternoon, Alan, and kindly tell us what is going on there.
Speak about Kajiado County, I don't know what comes to mind. You'll probably think about pastoralism and livestock and a lot of that going on. But what if I told you that Kajiado is trying to diversify itself by looking at alternative livelihoods? We're talking about African leafy vegetables. These are those common vegetables that you may call kienyeji, your cowpeas, your tereres and all this. But we needed to come here and find out what exactly is happening in this county and who are involved in trying to develop this kind of value chain, and what can we do to replicate this not only in Kajiado but the rest of the country. I'm joined here with the CCM for Agriculture here at Kajiado County, Dr. Achola Jackson. Welcome to this broadcast. Perhaps you can tell us more about this new strategy that is being advocated for. Tell us about how the county is trying to replicate this in the 5 sub-counties, and what are some of these challenges we need to overcome to bring this to fruition?
Yeah, my name is Dr. Jackson Achola. I'm the CEC in charge of agriculture, livestock, irrigation, and fisheries. Today, we are actually working in conjunction with the African Network in the development of what we call the African leafy vegetables. The African leafy vegetables are actually the local vegetables, which are actually very important, not only actually in nutrition, addressing the issue of nutrition, food and nutrition security, but it's also actually income generating. As a Kajiado, I'm sure is known it's known for its livestock productivity, because the livelihood depends on livelihood. Livestock as a source of livelihood. But due to the climatic changes which have occurred in during the last 3 or 4 years back, we are actually looking at it how we can improve the livelihood by diversifying the source of income. African leafy vegetable is where we'll not only be in addressing the issue of food and nutrition security, but we are also actually addressing income. So we are actually here to ensure that we actually, through the processes which have been done, we want to ensure that we actually promote these vegetables through the 5 sub-counties. We have realized that the leafy vegetables not only there is no sub-county in Kajiado County where the leafy vegetable cannot grow. And we actually targeted the women because women, we have realized actually the women are actually at the base of the household. So we are saying that we want to work through the women groups to ensure that actually we promote the leafy vegetables. As a county government, we actually making a commitment through this strategy that we'll actually set aside funds to ensure that we actually promote these leafy vegetables for the source, not only for the Kajiado, but we also target to ensure that we also import so that we can increase our income.
And what are those immediate challenges that you'd like to overcome this into fruition? Of course, there's maybe 1 or 2, maybe capacity building. What is the county doing about that?
We are aware that actually people have not realized the benefits of this leafy vegetable. One of the issues where we must start from is sensitization, because people have not known that actually these leafy vegetables, it can also grow in Kajiado, but can also be very nutritious. So we'll have to bring especially the groups, we want to bring the women into groups and ensure that we sensitize them and tell them that this thing is possible, and we'll do all we can through the station services, our staff, to ensure that this information is passed to the groups so that we can actually ensure that we are actually promoting this leafy vegetable.
Thank you very much, Waziri, for your time. We want to also get an opinion from the Rural Women Network. And let me bring in Madam Pauline from the Rural Women Network. Tell us why this is important and why this is justified at this time, briefly.
Thank you very much. My name is Pauline Karaoke from Rural Women Network. I would say this is very important for me because, like Waziri has said, it's about women. We started this project way back in 2019. With a focus on women, food security and nutrition security, and also focusing on climate smart and conservation agriculture. So we are looking at the economic empowerment of the women. We are also looking at the nutritional needs for the women. So it's very important for us.
And perhaps what are you encouraging your members, because you're a membership group as well? What are the members telling you, and how are you encouraging them to quickly overcome these challenges that are appearing in our communities when it comes to food resilience and security?
We have realized that for us to produce, we need to engage in some climate smart agriculture practices. And the way we have done that is to start climate smart agriculture centers. We call them livelihood running centers. This is where we have the practices in place, and the women run from these centers, and then they replicate at the household level. Right now we have 3 centers, one in Ewasokidong, in Kikonyoki, and Irodokirani. So we are seeing the replication is slow, but we hope it's going to pick up. And this is also helping the women to also be able to learn how to prepare these vegetables so that they are accepted at the family level.
Indeed, thank you very much for speaking to us, Troy. We wish we had more time, but that is what we have for you for now. And we hope that this also goes to everyone, that they should diversify their livelihoods. And also you there in studio will not order maybe nyama choma, maybe you diversify to pumpkin leaves or some terere. Thank you, Troy. Back to you.
Thank you, Alan. They're actually engaging some members of the Rural Women Network together with the EAE, the CC, the CEC for Kajiado County Agriculture, talking about the Osuga, the Managus, the Mrenda, the Tereres that group has embarked. And not only are they nutritious, they are also profitable as well. More on that bit a little bit later. But moving on, President William Ruto is expected to address the East African Legislative Assembly tomorrow as it begins 3 weeks of sittings in Nairobi. Yala Speaker Joseph Ntakirutimana said members are convening to discuss, among others, the conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Yala is mandated by the East Africa Treaty to hold sittings in member countries on a rotational basis.
Today, our businesses in Kenya will have to consider, of course we do, in our mandate, we have to do oversight. We have also to get bills, and we have to represent our people, to listen to them. They can join us, we can join them, and then when back, we can rule considering what we had received from them. But which business will we be having today in Kenya? We'll have to consider reports that our committees who have been doing oversight in different partner states, they report to the House.
Let's now tilt the lens and focus on businesses where small-scale farmers in Kenya are among those who will benefit from donor and advanced action research support in the Eastern and Central African region to boost food production. This is under an initiative by the Association for Strengthening Agricultural Research in Eastern and Central Africa that is harmonizing national systems in 15 member countries to enable them harness the economies of scale.
Despite the global actors supporting the national agriculture research systems by financing agriculture research, as well as offering technical support and facilities for research, there have been uncoordinated activities in undertaking activities that amount to duplication. This is what 15 member states of Association for Strengthening Agricultural Research in Eastern and Central Africa are seeking to address with the aim of boosting food production.
The aim is to make our agriculture productive. We want to make our youths engaged. We want to make our mamas in the village plus the youths more interested in agribusiness. We want to make sure that the trade, for those who want to do some trade locally, regionally, continentally and even to the EU market can find an access.
Member countries are keen on consolidating their actions to address the common agenda of agricultural research.
We also want to harmonize our work so that there is no confusion. Even as we go to the African Union, we go with the united fronts. We have our own set of activities which we signed into in that MOU with the African Union. So we want to create standards and procedures working with all the instruments of power which are available within our rich region.
Edna Murungi for Lunchtime News.
In other news, small and medium enterprises have been challenged to prioritize telling their stories to enhance visibility and attract more customers and potential investors. Kala PR Managing Director Kevin Otiende says SMEs can leverage both mainstream and digital media platforms as well as networking opportunities to broaden their consumer base and appeal to investors.
The FinAccess SMEs Tracker Survey 2023 by the Central Bank of Kenya cited inadequate visibility, limited access to funding and stiff competition as top reasons for the collapse of over 46% of SMEs before their second anniversary. Kevin Otiende, Managing Director of Kala PR, says many SMEs suffer from minimal visibility because they fail to effectively communicate and inform their consumers about their value propositions. This invisibility not only affects their market reach, but also hinders their ability to attract investors.
SMEs are also seeing very minimal visibility because they're not really owning and telling their stories. And this makes them invisible not just to their markets, but to the broader pool of investors.
Otiende added that technological advancements, particularly in mobile penetration and social media usage, provide SMEs with unprecedented avenues for reaching consumers.
There's very many ways SMEs can, maximize their visibility. We no longer live in the era where you just had to depend on one form of media to tell your story or to be known to your market and consumers. You can take advantage of digital media. You can take advantage of events and networking opportunities. You can take advantage of mainstream media. But basically what is important is you need to own your story. You need to explain your products and your solution to your market.
He also advised SMEs to embrace cross-border collaborations, invest in upskilling initiatives, and leverage technologies like artificial intelligence for tasks such as document translation.
Even artificial intelligence is now helping us with translation. I can put together a proposal in Nairobi in English or Kiswahili, and I can ask AI to just translate it into French and send the exact same proposal to French-speaking DRC or Ivory Coast. So artificial intelligence is definitely going to be a game changer in many ways, and we need to also position ourselves towards that.
Betty Kiptum, Lunchtime News.
And in sports, Bernard Langat and Judith Chepngetich were crowned winners of the Kapsabet 15-kilometer road race in Nandi County. Langat clocked 44 minutes, 13.7 seconds to win the race, relegating Kiprotich, Langat and Felix Kirui to second and third positions respectively. In the women's category, Judith Chepngetich emerged victorious ahead of Janeth Jepkosgei and Joanne Jepkosgei, who completed the podium positions. The winners received 250,000 shillings, while the second and third place finishers walked away with 150,000 and 100,000 shillings respectively.
It's an elaborate thing that we are going to be doing across the country. Everywhere in the country will go there. And this is the right time for us to be in Nandi and to get new talent and new people being uplifted to the sportsman's glory. We are happy that we are going to be awarding the new champions, because Betika is about making champions. It's the home of champions.
And further afield, Kenya finished fourth in the men's 4x400-meter relay final as the curtains came down on the World Athletics Indoor Track and Field Championships in Glasgow, Scotland. Belgium won the race while USA and Netherlands finished second and third respectively.
The Kenyan team led by Zablom Ekwam, Kelvin Sane, Weissman Were and Boniface Mweresa qualified for the final after finishing third in their semi-final race. The Kenyan quadrant fought hard in the final, finishing fourth behind Belgium, USA and Netherlands, who took the top podium positions. The Kenyan team set a new African and national record of 3 minutes, 6.71 seconds. In another race, Kenyan's Vivian Kiprotich finished fourth in the women's 800 meters. Another Kenyan, Vincent Keita, was placed in the 100 meters. For Lunchtime News, I'm Sela Onyango.
On te pousse, oui! On y est! Eh oui! Et 2 fois oui! Deuxième titre mondial!
And finally, a Phil Foden double inspired Manchester City to an important victory in the Manchester Derby. City came from behind to beat United 3-1 at the Etihad Stadium, leaving them just 1 point behind league leaders Liverpool.
Hernandez and Rashford. Oh my goodness! That is a stunning goal from Marcus Rashford.
The Red Devils took the lead after just 8 minutes thanks to a thumping goal by Marcus Rashford 30 yards out. The contest, however, was City dominated, with Foden taking the reins with 2 second-half goals for the Homes.
Very well, and before we are done with the broadcast, let's come back here in the country where the Law Society of Kenya are having a press briefing led by their LSK newly elected President Faith Odhiambo. Let's first of all listen in.
By government agencies. On Thursday, 29th February 2024, officials and members of the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union led medical interns in a peaceful protest over delayed posting of medical interns and payment of fees for postgraduate students. The police responded by deploying disproportionate force against the protesters, leading to the shooting of KPMDU Secretary General Davji Atela with a tear gas canister and occasioning serious injuries to other innocent protesters. The Law Society of Kenya notes with concern the disregard by the police of their constitutional duty, violation of rights to protest, and disproportionate use of force. LSK will join in solidarity with KMPDU in taking all necessary action to ensure justice is served for Dr. Davji. We demand that the Inspector General of Police and IPOA take immediate steps to hold the rogue individuals who committed this heinous attack personally liable. We note with concern that this comes against the backdrop of live bullets being used against members of the Law Society during a protest in Nakuru County last month. It is disconcerting that the police appear to have taken a path of using force against professional bodies seeking to protect the rights and interests of their members and the people of Kenya. This sustained of the police's constitution duty under Article 244C of the Constitution of Kenya. It would appear from the above incidents that there is an informal government policy to disregard the obedience of law and regard to court orders the government does not agree with. We are concerned that unless this trend is checked, the country is likely to roll back the democratic gains that we have made so far. That is all.
Very well, that has been a briefing by members of the bar, and to be more specific, the Law Society of Kenya leadership there castigating the police against the use of force against their members when they were picketing a few weeks back, and also castigating those that were behind the attacks on the doctors on last week. And the Law Society want Kenyans allowed to picket and to also demonstrate peacefully without the intervention of security forces. And from that, we now cross over to the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, IEK, who are commemorating the World Engineering Day. That function is being held at the Daystar University. Let's first of all cross over and listen in.
God bless Kenya. God bless all engineers and engineering practitioners globally. Engineer Eric Ohaga, President, Institution of Engineers of Kenya.
Thank you, Engineer Kagondu. I must admit you are a very faithful deputy. Our chief guest today, our PS, Engineer Joseph Bogwe, the chairman of ASEC, Engineer Patrick Wamburwa, the CEO of Kura, Engineer Kinoti, Director of CONSA, Charles Kilonso. For those who may not know, Charles Kilonso was a communications manager in this institution when I was serving as a council member. He did a lot of publicity to market the institution before he moved on. So well done. The council members present, led by the first vice president, who is filling in for the president, the registrar, and your very able team, managers, Engineer Grace, and so on. I think IEK has also a CEO, a very able person, Engineer Dr. Victor Mongera, and all the other guests present. Colleague engineers, good afternoon. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. God is good, and all the time, and that is his nature. For the first time, for the 50th time in a row, we gathered to celebrate and dedicated World Engineering Day, a significant day to celebrate our contributions to humanity. Having said that, I must confess that this is a human limitation in thinking. The World Engineering Day has been there since creation. When God created the world using engineering skills, culminating with the creation of us human beings, he said it was very good. So he celebrated the first Engineering Day. When humanity decided to assume the role of God and decided to oppose him, opposition has not started today. And God instructed Noah to build the ark. This was a ship on dry land. And for your interest, the ark was 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. You may wonder what are these cubits, but a cubit is about to have a meter. So this ship was 1.5 times a football field, length of football field, just for you to imagine. 25 meters wide and 15 meters high. Again, when Noah completed this big monster of engineering measure, the first ship, he celebrated the World Engineering Day, because in Genesis 6, verse 22, the Bible tells us Noah did all that God commanded him, and God was pleased. So today, in that same spirit, today I want to celebrate World Federation of Engineering Organization President, Engineer Mustafa Shehu, who is leading the World celebrations in Lisbon as the first.
Very well, we will be getting a little bit more in regards to the World Engineering Day, which is being celebrated at the Daystar University, thereby Institution of Engineers of Kenya, IEK. And that marks the end of our broadcast. Ben Troy Njoe, on behalf of my director Jackie Wasolo and my sign language interpreter Lensa Odingo, I wish you a blessed week ahead and afternoon as well.
The art of bonsai is now famous the world over. Tiny trees, grown and shaped to express their natural essence, kept small enough to fit on a tray. But bonsai is only one of the arts developed by the Japanese to appreciate nature at home. Trays like this, called obon, have long